Oh shit.
It's never too late to change your life. The story's not over. The ending is mine. Whatever it takes to see you smile.
So yes, it's Ramadan time, and this year it is going to be a tough one. I know a lot of you guys are going to be doing some really extended days of fasting. So what we're going to do is have a quick talk. I'm going to blast through this because it is really not overly complicated and I don't want to confuse you guys. This is going to be based on you monitoring what you are eating, how much of it you're eating, and logging that food. All you need to know is some simple tricks, some simple rules, and some simple guides to focusing through this time so that you don't feel like everything that you've done over the past few weeks, months, even the year isn't going to go to waste because you can't eat. So let's set it up. Rule 1. Looking in the mirror and acute reactions. During this time, your consistency of your day-to-day eating, your training schedules, your timings of your food and everything are going to change. That is going to have an effect on the way you look in the mirror. The thing to understand in this time is because you're going to be eating a lot of food in a short period of time, because you're going to be not eating a food or drinking water for a long period of time, your look in the mirror is going to change and change pretty drastically in a very short amount of time. But what you need to know is these are acute reactions to the way your day has changed. So you're going to look a little flatter, you're not going to look as full, you're going to feel more bloated at certain times, but these are short-term reactions. They are not undoing your hard work. They're not reversing all that effort you've put in the past month, year, whatever. You have to understand that. So examples of this would be if you were to eat a lot of salt all of a sudden, you would get vascular within kind of 40 minutes, but that vascularity is going to die down after about an hour. That is what's known as an acute reaction. It occurs, it dissipates. So you have an extreme result and then you go back to normality. That's what you're going to see with a little bit more of an extreme version of it through this fasting period. And that's going to be due to the dehydration, due to the sudden influx of foods. You cannot lose what you've created in weeks, months and years in a matter of days. It can't be done, so don't worry too much. As long as you know you're going to be hitting your food targets, hitting your calorie targets, let the body do its thing. Don't be too preoccupied with how you look in the mirror. Rule number 2, calories and intakes. This is going to be your main focus. You're going to have a very short window in which to get in the calories that you need. Now let's talk about things. If you're on a cut or if you're on a gain, I'm going to be honest with you, your focus at this time is going to have to be more about maintenance, maintaining where you're at prior to this fasting period. It is absolutely not an ideal time to keep focusing on, especially a gaining phase. A cutting phase, yes, you could probably maintain some weight loss in this, but it's going to be very hard to judge that day-to-day look due to the fact you're going to be fasting and dehydrated for such long periods of time. Your weight on the scales is going to be inconsistent, your look in the mirror is going to be inconsistent. So for me personally, I would suggest, unless you have a very specific date that you have to look a certain way by, let's get back to a maintenance level. Let's get back to just maintaining where you're at before this fast kicked in, and then so when it comes to the end of the fasting time and you're allowed to eat normally again, you can just pick up where you left off. In line with this, your goals are going to be to bring your food, if you're in a cutting stage, to a little bit of a higher elevated point. I'd say, let's take an example. Let's do something really simple. If you're 200 protein, 200 carbs and 60 fat, let's make it nice and even, nice round numbers. What you best be doing here would be bringing your protein up to, say, keeping it at either the 200, hitting somewhere between 180 and 210. I would bring the carbs to 250, and I would take the fats, I would leave those, I would take those between a 60 and 70 level. So what you're doing is giving your body a little bit more of an elevation. Chances are, if you're aiming for those, you're going to undereat anyway and you might miss out. So if you aim for an elevated level of macros and you undereat a little bit because you can't get it in the time frame, at least we know we're getting your body to the maximum potential of macros it can deal with, that's going to help support that muscle. If you're in a gaining phase, I would say pull down a little bit, pull down towards a maintenance level so that your body is able to deal with the sudden influx of foods, digest a little easier. It's going to be a little easier on your stomach, you're not going to feel as bloated, not as distended, and you're going to be able to hit a more realistic target level, because that is going to be a big factor on this, and that's going to be the mental game and the actual time frame in which you have to work with. So if you're in a gaining phase, let's take again some really nice round numbers. Let's say 200 protein, let's say 400 carbs, and let's say you're on 80 fats. I would go with a more, again, that 180 to 210 protein range. That's going to keep you nice and full. It's going to keep the protein synthesis going. It's going to keep your metabolism nice and firing. It's going to give you that reason to burn. Again, you know, we're talking in terms of, you know, protein just being a more thermogenic food to digest and eat, so we're going to help bolster the metabolism in that way. That's how it helps. The carbs, now if you were at say 400, I would pull those to 300. I'd be really conservative with it and just make sure you're hitting that maintenance level. The fats, if you're at 80, because you're pulling the carbs down quite a bit, you could leave it up there, or you could pull it down to around that 70-75 region, just to give you that buffer zone. So that is what I would suggest doing. That's what I personally would do. Obviously this is all going to be down to you and what you choose to do, but those are personally what I would say would be the goal sets I would set, sorry, fly, if it was me that was having to undergo this. All power to you guys. I do not know how you do this. On that side though, this is something extreme. So if you think about it, this would be a positive. I know a lot of you see it might be a negative time for your gym progression things, but think about it this way. This is the most extreme most people ever get to. If you're able and capable mentally of getting through this and being consistent with getting this maintenance level in, so that your progression point is held and that it's not a failure point, how fucking motivating is that? How fucking strong are you mentally to be able to get through this? After you complete this, there should be nothing that steps in your way. That day you feel like not getting up and going to the gym, just think, God damn, I've just done 4 weeks fasting, 20-hour days. Hell, you think I can't get my ass off a sofa to get to the gym? Fuck no, of course you can. It's all about that positive attitude about what you're doing and how you're going about it. Okay, what else we got? Point 3, food choices. So, we're dealing with long days here, long days of not being able to eat. The sunrise and sunset is earlier and later as it's going to be because of the time of year that it's fallen into. So food choices are going to be vitally important in making sure that you can get the food in the time you have available to eat. And this is going to mean changing up some of those volumizing foods that you're using on a shredding phase and on gaining phases. Again, we've said we're going to be pulling to a maintenance level. So on your gainers, you're going to be looking, you're going to be taking a little less volume. With guys who are cutting, you're going to be taking a little more. But chances are the actual size of your meals is going to be able to be brought down quite easily, because if you're in a shredding phase, you should be volumizing meals to make sure you're full all the time. So we're going to take away some of that, and for the guys who are on the gains, we're going to be looking for, again, to bring the volume of the food down so that you can get in the macronutrients that you need, but in smaller portions, so you're not feeling rough, heavy and bloated after doing it. You're going to be looking for foods that give you a high macronutrient intake in a smaller volume. So we're talking about higher impact foods overall. So you're going to be looking to stay away from things like red meat, which tend to be lower in protein per 100 grams. You're going to be looking more towards the white meats like your chicken, your turkey and things like that. High protein, so we're talking around about 30 grams of protein per 100 grams of serving, whereas some things like fish and red meat can be around about 20 grams of protein per 100 grams serving. So again, you're having to eat more to get the protein in that you would need. What we're looking for is the high levels of protein per 100 grams. In terms of fats, if you're struggling to get your fats in, nuts are going to be a really great way of going about it. 1 almond is 1 gram of fat, so it's a very, very easy way of bolstering your fats and getting those in if you struggle to get them in, because most of the food that you have in your household is low fat, like we tend to do. Very simple. 10 almonds, 10 grams of fat. If you're allergic to nuts, you're going to be looking towards things like coconut oil. That's going to be a good way of getting some MCTs in there as well, which are very good for you. But again, maybe putting some extra virgin olive oil drizzled over some of the food that you're eating is going to help get some of those fats in. Red meats are a good way of getting fats in if you need that kind of level. You're looking towards not the fillet side of things. If you're going to be eating steaks, you're going to be looking more towards kind of the T-bones and things like that, the higher fat ones. If you're buying minced steak, you don't want to be going for the lean, you want to be getting the normal one, which is pretty high. I think it's around about 16 grams of fat per 100 gram serving, so that's a pretty hefty fat level. But again, I wouldn't be doing that every day. As we say with red meats, you want to keep those in relatively smaller intakes throughout the week. You don't want to be having red meat every single day, not too good on the gut. It's going to be getting that balance and finding your foods. There is going to be a learning curve. Don't worry about messing up one day here or there. The thing is that the quicker you can get into a consistent intake, a consistent rhythm of what you're eating, as soon as that sun sets, as soon as you're allowed to eat, the better. So let's start making plans. When something goes wrong, just, don't fall apart about it. Log it. That was an error. How do we fix it? That's the fix. There we go, and move forward. Don't get bogged down or held up by errors and things like that. Again, you can't undo what you've done in a day that you created in weeks, months and years. So your body will adapt to a certain extent. Through the first few days, you're going to see a lot of water loss weight. So again, don't worry too much about that. The body will adapt. But what we want here is high volume foods so that you're able to get the macros in that you need. So cereals are a great way of getting in some carbs and fiber. I often use like an all bran followed by a high fiber cereal, and that is a really effective, easy and quite enjoyable way of getting those in. The carbohydrate side of things, so sweet potato, you're looking at 20 grams of carbohydrate per 100 grams. So we want to opt for things more like rice, which is like 30 per 100 grams. So you can see there, you're going to need to do a little bit of research on your food, check through what's giving you the best per 100 gram, the highest levels per 100 gram servings. Obviously you want to avoid taking in tremendous amounts of sugars, but again, don't be afraid of getting your macros in through kind of fruit juices or other things. If you're struggling, you can take it in liquid form. Again, supplements are gonna be useful in this time because they allow you to get in a large macronutrient intake in obviously a very simple shake version of what the food alternative would be. So again, a shake a day is absolutely fine. Don't go taking 3, 4, 5 shakes thinking that it's going to help you. That's not going to help you. That's not a healthy way of going about this. Plus, you want to enjoy some food time with the family. This is what this is about. A lot of people I know get together and have big family meals, and that is a really positive thing. It helps bring the family together. So let's talk about that. Eating with the family. A lot of things are cooked in a lot of oil. So maybe you request that your food isn't cooked in so much oil, or you go about finding out how much fat is in the food that is being cooked. So that's going to be, it's going to be a bit rough and it's going to be a bit of a guesstimation, but at least you're going to have some control by doing it. Now, my suggestion would be to either work out the volume of meat that's being cooked and see how much oil is being put in there, and then work out how much oil is going to be in a single serving. Or if that's a little bit overcomplicated, what you can do is, say you're having a chicken breast, but it's been cooked in spices, sunflower oil, peanut oil, whatever's been used in there. What you can do is find a chicken breast on MyFitnessPal, assuming you're counting macros, assuming that you're monitoring your food, which you need to be doing, guys. Find a chicken breast in there, like a spiced chicken breast or whatever, and then just basically find the worst case scenario of that portion serving. So what I tend to do is I would go in and say, find I don't know, a tikka chicken, and I'd find a chicken tikka breast, but I would go and type in extra special or something like that. If you're like the supermarket versions, like the ones that are classed as being extra special or gourmet, they're usually the ones that are laden with the more of the fats and things like that, so they're going to give you a higher fat value for that meal, and that's kind of what you're going to want to be logging. So find the worst case scenario of that food and log it as that food. A lot of people will be thinking things like chapatis and the breads and things like that are going to be a bad thing, but if you're not affected by bread when it's eaten on a regular basis, such as the gluten and things like that, it's going to be actually a little bit of a benefit. Again, what you're going to want to do is get your chapati, weigh it, find the average weight that your chapatis are going to be when you're eating them. They are very high impact foods. You're talking like 50 grams of carbohydrate in a chapati this size, which isn't that big, and that's a lot of carbs in a very small portion, but as I said, that's going to benefit you in getting in the food you need in very short times. But remember, you have to log this as being worst case scenario. So find a chapati on your MyFitnessPal, search it and find the one with the highest fat ratio. That's probably going to be the most accurate one for the one you're going to be eating at home, if it is being cooked or rubbed with oil or anything like that. If it hasn't, obviously log it accordingly. But this is basically going to be how you get around the issue of being in a fasting period. It's not going to be perfect. Your look in the mirror is going to change. You are going to soften off. You are going to look different. But what you must understand is it is not muscle mass falling off you. For you guys who are new to the gym and haven't got that kind of deep ingrained muscle look yet, like guys like ourselves who've been training up to like 15 years now, if you're new to the gym, understand you're going to soften off. It's going to happen quite quickly. It's going to look a little bit drastic, but it is not the muscle falling off. It's simply the water rebalance in your body adjusting. As the dehydration takes effect, what happens is water is held 70% in the muscle, 30% in the subcutaneous, that means underneath the skin. That ratio is going to be maintained whatever. So as the water levels decrease in your body, they're going to decrease in the muscle, which is going to make them look flatter, softer, not as dense, but it doesn't mean the muscle's going away. Stick with monitoring your food. Don't fall off the wagon, don't get disheartened, don't blow out and just go and be so hungry that when the sun sets that you just go and hit anything that's closest to you, such as pizzas and things like that. If you do that, log it, take the hit. You know, understand that you've had a pizza and you've eaten most of your fats in that one meal. Deal with it. Work the rest of the food that you get in before that sun rises. Work it around the fact you've done that. Just take responsibility for what you take into your body. The moment you do that and you stick with it over this time, I promise you, you'll be fine. The moment you come out the other side and you get back to your consistency, the body will fill back up with glycogen. It'll get back to looking the way it was before you started. And you can see how much you can control your body, maintain your body, and keep it where you need it to be, even in the most extreme circumstances. Training. This is going to be a very, very different thing for a lot of people. If you have access to a 24-hour gym, obviously this is going to be fine. You're going to need to be training late. What I would advise is do not, whatever you do, train while dehydrated. It is really, really dangerous. It can make you lightheaded, it can mess with your blood pressure, you can feel dizzy, woozy. It's just not safe. The muscles aren't going to be able to function properly, you'll not be able to function properly, and your training isn't going to be effective. It's not going to be a useful part of your day. If you don't have access to a 24-hour gym, what I would say is invest in some kettlebells, invest in something you can use at home, do some full body workouts. And it's just going to be looking at what you can do. Forget what you can't. What can you do? Kettlebells, body weight work. Maybe take it as a month of just kicking ass on cardio, boxing, bag work. There are so many options. You can just go out and do functional bodyweight movements, dips, pull-ups, press-ups, burpees, jumping squats. There's so many options. Do some research, Google free body exercises, bodyweight exercises. There's a mountain of things for you to be able to choose from there. If worse comes to worse, you don't have access to a 24-hour gym, you can't get a hold of some equipment, you don't have the money to invest in it, but your gym is open till maybe an hour before that sun sets, then okay, maybe go in and time your session so that as you finish the sun is setting and you're able to immediately take in some water and get some food in. But if you do have to do this is worst case scenario, if you do have to do this, please guys, make sure that you are taking the session slow, you're doing slow controlled reps, you are taking the rest periods that you need. And don't, if you're feeling lightheaded, make sure that you're sitting down, taking rest, because the dehydration is going to take a serious effect. So slow paced workouts, contraction work's probably going to be your best bet, squeezing at the top of each rep, nice slow reps, looking at kind of 6 to 10 ranges, nice low ranges, finding a weight that makes you technically fail in those ranges, and again, just keeping that pace nice and steady and overall being safe. Make sure that if all of a sudden you feel like you're done, then stop. You know, and then once you've eaten and got some water into you and you're back at home, just finish up that workout with some body weight workouts. It's very simple, guys. All you need to be doing is just keeping the body ticking over, keeping the stimulus alive, and there are so many avenues. I promise you guys, if you just stick to these rules that I've outlaid for you here, then you'll be fine. But the main thing is, this is going to be a big, big, big mental test, because you are going to change. The way you look is going to change, but what you just have to believe me. If you're hitting your numbers, if you're hitting your calories, if you're getting that food and you're being consistent, you're being smart with your training, the body will just be sitting and maintaining, and you will come out the other side ready to hit the ground running and continue exactly where you left off. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this video, please hit that like button. It really does help the channel. It helps spread the knowledge. It helps spread this video, and hopefully it can help a lot of people. Have a safe time, guys. And I'll catch you in the next one. Boom, baby.